Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, good morning. It is a genuine pleasure to address this summer school once again. My sincere thanks to the Government of Mexico and the James Martin Center for inviting me. I would also like to acknowledge my distinguished co-panelists, Director General Grossi and Executive Secretary Floyd. At the outset, I would like to emphasize that diplomats from this region are amongst the most engaged on nuclear disarmament. This was the first region to declare itself a nuclear weapon-free zone. It boasts universal membership of both the NPT and the CTBT, and it has many active participants in the TPNW. The impetus behind these impressive credentials was the caliber of diplomats driving them. When it comes to nuclear weapons, the world needs passionate and capable diplomats who also understand the subject matter. That is why initiatives like this summer school are so essential. They provide you, the diplomats of such an important region, with the knowledge and understanding to properly move the needle when it comes to creating a safer and more secure world. And now is the time. We are at the critical juncture in global affairs. Increasing geopolitical complexity and a suite of era-defining technologies are fueling an alarming growth in nuclear risk. Dangerous rhetoric is on the rise, and the use of nuclear weapons as tools of coercion has emerged as a worrying reality. The guardrails, so painstakingly developed during the Cold War, are eroding, or when it comes to new challenges, are non-existent. Trust is absent. Transparency and dialogue is lacking. Arms racing of the qualitative and possibly of the quantitative kind is intensifying. Regional crises continue to unfold that are driving proliferation and could potentially draw in nuclear armed states. All the challenges endure. Not least of these are the failure to implement nuclear disarmament commitments and the need to constantly ensure the safeguards system is universal and fit for purpose. In sum, the possibility of nuclear weapon use is higher than it has been in decades, at the same time as the mechanisms to bring about their eliminations are stymied. But despite these challenges, I am hopeful we can learn from past lessons and course correct. The norms against the use, proliferation, and testing of nuclear weapons remain strong. For example, even though the 10th NPT Review Conference in 2022 was unable to produce a consensus outcome, this was essentially related to issues tangential to the treaty's substance. All states parties reaffirmed their commitment to the treaty. Almost the entirety of the draft outcome was agreed. I fully expect the NPT to remain the locus of the international disarmament and non-proliferation regime for the foreseeable future. This is for three reasons. First, it is the only treaty to contain legally binding commitments on the 5 nuclear weapon states. Second, it contains verifiable non-proliferation obligations that are ably policed by Director General Grossi and the IAEA. And third, its near universal status means that these commitments and obligations are binding on almost the entire international community. The new review cycle, which will commence with the preparatory committee meeting in Vienna later this month, is an opportunity to breathe fresh air into the NPT. I see several opportunities to do so. To begin with, The future credibility of the treaty rests on the implementation of commitments already made in all three pillars of the NPT: disarmament, non-proliferation, and the peaceful uses of nuclear energy, but essentially for disarmament. The new review cycle should look to develop means to hold states parties accountable for commitments undertaken. Second, the dangerous times in which we live require urgent measures to ensure the non-use of nuclear weapons. These could include transparency and confidence-building measures, crisis communications, and agreed understandings about new challenges, such as those posed by new domains and technologies. Third, the growing role of nuclear science and technology in fields like human health, water management, and agriculture amplifies the link between the NPT and Sustainable Development Goals and provides a new layer of global importance to the NPT. Finally, proliferation challenges are not static. Neither can be the non-proliferation regime. From the possible expansion of nuclear power and new reactor types to existing regional proliferation risks and the universalization of the safeguard system, states parties must ensure the regime remains fit for purpose and what value the NPT can add. Of the other nuclear disarmament-related treaties, the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, or TPNW, which several states from this region have joined, is a cause for optimism. The treaty represents a significant number of states' genuine concerns for urgent action. Its focus on humanitarian consequences is groundbreaking for a WMD treaty and strikes a chord with many states. The second meeting of TPNW states parties this November will be an opportunity for states parties to demonstrate progress on their ambitious action plan, especially in areas such as victim assistance and the development of a competent international authority to monitor and verify disarmament. Turning to the other major multilateral nuclear disarmament treaty, the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, one can only be impressed by the number of recent new signatories to the treaty. This is a testament to the hard work of Executive Secretary Floyd and the Preparatory Technical Secretariat. But there is more work to be done. A legally binding prohibition against all testing is a central element of a world free of nuclear weapons, and we cannot cease striving until we have one in force. I want to conclude with some brief words on what is often referred to as the UN disarmament machinery, made up of a series of multilateral, regional, bilateral, and even unilateral instruments. At its heart are three multilateral instruments: the First Committee of the General Assembly, the United Nations Disarmament Commission, and the Conference on Disarmament, the sole multilateral disarmament negotiating body. Unfortunately, the Conference on Disarmament has not negotiated anything in more than a quarter of a century. The Disarmament Commission has not produced anything related to nuclear weapons since 1999. While the First Committee did provide a negotiating mandate for the TPNW, it remains increasingly racked by divisions. I will be the first to say that process alone does not produce results. However, given the challenging circumstances we face, I think it behoves us to ask if the current machinery can be upgraded to get the job done. In conclusion, I would like to emphasize that we need to consider how to adapt our work to a more multipolar world and how to include all categories of weapons and delivery systems in our processes. We need to find common understanding about the risks posed at the intersection between nuclear weapons and new domains and technologies. And we must find ways to ensure that nuclear weapons cannot be used as tools of coercion. Preventing any use of nuclear weapons must be our first priority. But the only way to truly prevent nuclear weapons from being used again is to eliminate them. It is incumbent on all of us to make tangible progress towards that goal. I hope that you will glean every ounce of information from this summer school that you can, and I look forward to working with you all. Please know that the UN Office for Disarmament Affairs is here to support you however we can. Thank you for your attention.